I used to believe that loyalty would speak for itself, until the day I found that envelope. It was a rainy Saturday in Asheville, North Carolina, the kind that makes the Blue Ridge Mountains feel heavy and quiet. I had stopped by my parents' cottage like I always did, just to help out. My mother, Gloria, was never great with paperwork, so I'd often swing by to handle things, bills, medical forms, anything that felt overwhelming for her and Dad. I'm 35 now. For nearly 12 years, I've been the one keeping this house from falling apart. Literally. I paid for the new roof, covered repairs after the flood, even shelled out $80,000, 0 cents, over the years to help them avoid foreclosure. That cozy gray house felt like my home, too. "Can you check these for me?" Mom asked, setting a stack of papers on the table before returning to her knitting by the fire. I sat down and flipped through them absently until I saw it. A thick, cream-colored folder marked Estate Plan and Will. I paused. Not out of curiosity, I told myself, just to make sure everything was fair. But when I reached the asset distribution page, my heart caught. The house, the car, their modest savings, everything, they had left everything to Rachel, my younger sister, down to the antique watch Grandpa left Dad. Me? Not a word. Just one line. "We love both our daughters." I stared at the page, my hands trembling. Flashbacks hit me like a wave, working overtime to cover their mortgage, canceling vacations, wiring emergency funds, all erased with one cold signature. I heard Mom's footsteps returning. "Danielle, did you find the statement?" I stood, clutching the will. "Is this real?" I asked, voice steady but sharp. She froze. "Oh, that... Well, I mean, we didn't think. A lifetime of sacrifice, and I'm just invisible?" I said, my voice breaking even as I kept it low. Just then, my dad Howard walked in with his usual mug of black coffee. He set it down, looked at me, then at the paper. His jaw tightened, but he said nothing. And in that silence, I understood everything. A sigh, like he was about to comment on the weather. "You don't need to react like this, Danielle." His tone was dismissive. "You're doing fine. Rachel, she's still figuring things out." I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. "Figuring things out? She's 32 and still hopping from job to job. You're covering her rent, her car insurance, and she still calls Mom to Venmo her lunch money." My voice cracked, but I didn't care. "I'm the one who covered your mortgage for 3 years. I'm the one who found contractors to fix the foundation when it started sinking. I'm the one who kept this place standing, emotionally, physically, financially." Mom stepped closer, gently placing her hand over mine like it could erase everything with a simple gesture. "Don't overthink it," she said softly. "I just wanted your sister to feel secure." I pulled my hand away. My expression didn't waver. "Secure? What about me? What about the one who's earned security?" They said nothing. I placed the will back on the table like I was returning a betrayal wrapped in official language. "Thanks for showing me where I really stand." I walked toward the door. No one followed. No one said my name. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt hollow. A quiet kind of emptiness that settled deep, not from sadness, but from clarity. I never went back to that house after that day. Weeks passed, no calls, no messages, like I had never existed at all. Then, on a Wednesday afternoon, I got a text from Dad. "Mortgage is due Friday, can you send the transfer?" I stared at the screen. A part of me almost laughed. No apology, no acknowledgement, just a line item in their mental budget. I typed slowly, deliberately. "I think Rachel can handle it. It's hers now." Then I put my phone down and didn't wait. 10 minutes later, another message. This time from Mom. "Danielle, don't do this. We need to talk." "Fine." I didn't reply. Because I wasn't grieving anymore. I wasn't even angry. I had simply stopped hoping. And when Rachel texted 3 days later, "You're overreacting. Mom and Dad didn't mean it like that," I didn't respond to her either. They all meant exactly what they did. And I was finally done pretending otherwise. "You've always been independent and I'm just not," you know that. Rachel's message tried to sound vulnerable, but I could see the manipulation in every word. I typed slowly, my fingers steady. Then prove you deserve what you've been given. Start by paying the mortgage. No response. A week passed in silence. Then, on a foggy Monday morning, while I was stirring oat milk into my coffee in the kitchen, my phone buzzed. A transfer request from Mom, $2,900, 0 cents. No message, just a cold transaction, as impersonal as the way they had erased me from their estate plan. I hit decline without hesitation. Mom called within minutes. I let it ring. On the fourth buzz, I declined. A message appeared seconds later. Danielle, I know you saw it. Why did you decline? I closed my eyes, exhaled, and typed. Because it's no longer my responsibility. Ask Rachel. For the first time in years, I felt control settle over me. I wasn't rushing to fix messes I didn't make. I wasn't breaking myself into pieces to keep their world together. 3 days later, Rachel again. You're being so selfish. Then you always say family comes first. I stared at the screen, reading it over and over like it might change. Family. The same family that gutted me from their future without flinching. The same one that expected unconditional giving, but offered nothing back. I responded with one sentence. Family is built on respect, not exploitation. No reply. Just silence. But this time, it didn't sting. It felt like air finally returning to lungs that had been clenched for too long. Still, I knew the quiet wouldn't last. Eventually, the foreclosure letters would start. Rachel would fumble through bills. The weight of what they'd taken on would become undeniable. And when that day came, they'd remember me. But not as their safety net. That next message came at 11:47 p.m., just as I reached a climactic chapter in my novel. My tea had gone lukewarm. I glanced at the screen. You're blowing this way out of proportion. Everyone's stressed. Why are you being so dramatic? It's just a few payments. You've always done it. I let out a dry, joyless laugh. Not anymore. Just a few payments. Easy to say when you've never paid a utility bill in your life. I typed back. I'm not being dramatic, I'm being clear. And you better get used to it. Less than a minute later, she responded. You're seriously selfish. Don't be surprised if Mom and Dad don't forgive you. I set the phone down and stared out the window, feeling nothing. No guilt, no second guessing. For once, I wasn't consumed by thoughts like, what if they're upset? Or, should I apologize? I had crossed a line. Not out of spite, but survival. The line between being exploited and finally choosing myself. The next morning, I made a few calls. First to the bank, asking to have my name removed from the joint mortgage account. Then to the power, water, and internet companies, canceling the auto payments I'd been covering for years. I deleted every bill reminder from my calendar. It felt like a quiet ritual, a farewell ceremony to the role I had been forced into. That night, I cleaned my tiny apartment, lit a candle, and played my favorite playlist, one I used to only listen to with headphones so no one would complain. Then I did something unthinkable. I bought myself a chocolate cake, the kind I always skipped because there was always something more important to pay for. And for the first time in years, I slept through the night. No alarms, no 3 a.m. dread, no urgent bank notifications or last-minute can you just cover this. I woke up light, free. I even enrolled in an online art class I had dreamed of taking for almost a decade. And just as I started to feel life settling into place, the cracks in their foundation came calling. Early that week, my mom, Gloria, called. I didn't answer. A text followed. Danielle, we need to talk. Your sister doesn't know how to pay the internet bill. Can you help? I ignored it. 2 days later, the landline's cut. She says she can't log in. I don't know what to do. I opened my old household notebook, the one where every login, password, and billing cycle was meticulously written, the one they never touched. Then I closed it, slid it back into the bookshelf, and walked away. I wasn't their assistant. I wasn't the fixer anymore. 3 days later, a new message from Rachel. Are you kidding me right now? The power's about to be shut off. I smiled. Then I put my phone on silent. Are you really going to let that happen to our family? Rachel's message blinked on my screen. I replied with one sentence. No. I'm just letting everyone take responsibility for their own choices. Silence, again. Days passed. Then, on a quiet Thursday morning, my phone rang. The number wasn't familiar until I answered. Danielle, it's Mrs. Larimore, from next door, to your parents, 22 years now. I straightened slightly in my chair. Your mom asked if I knew anyone selling houses. I don't think they're managing very well anymore. My stomach sank, but I kept my voice level. Thank you for letting me know. After the call ended, I didn't cry. I didn't smile either. I just sat by the window and watched the morning light spill across my porch. The air smelled like fresh pine and distant rain, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't drowning in guilt. I had stepped off the hamster wheel, and I wasn't getting back on. Then, on Monday, another unexpected message popped up. From Mr. Whitley, another neighbor. Danielle, is everything all right with your folks? Gloria asked me what day it was. She seemed confused, said she thought the foreclosure letter was a mistake. But it's real. So, it had happened. 4 weeks since I stopped all support. 4 weeks for the house I had poured tens of thousands into to begin collapsing. An hour later, my mom called. I didn't answer. Then the message came. Danielle, please, we really need you right now. It's serious. I stared at it. My chest tightened, but not from guilt, from exhaustion. I once thought this moment would feel like justice. It didn't, just weariness in my bones, the kind that comes from years of thankless effort. I said nothing. 2 days later, Rachel showed up at my apartment. She looked like she hadn't slept. Hoodie wrinkled, hair pulled back in a messy knot, documents clutched in her arms. Please, I just need 5 minutes, she said breathlessly. Just 5. I crossed my arms and leaned against the doorway. My voice was flat. You here to ask for money? No, she said quickly, voice cracking. I need help talking to the bank. I don't understand what they're saying. I'm overwhelmed. Rachel's voice cracked. I tilted my head slightly. What about the inheritance you got? I asked it lightly, like I was talking about the weather. She looked down, eyes darting to the floor. It's tied up in an investment portfolio. If I pull it out now, there's a penalty. I didn't think it would spiral this fast. I raised an eyebrow. Yet you signed for everything without hesitation. They said it was all set, she mumbled. Mom and Dad made it sound like they had everything under control. I folded my arms. You didn't think, exactly, like always. Rachel didn't respond. The hallway felt too quiet. I stepped outside and gently closed the door behind me. This is the lesson you need to learn, I said, my back still turned. Everyone stumbles, but if someone's always there to catch you, you never learn how to land on your feet. You're really going to let them lose the house? I'm not letting anything happen, I said, walking away. They made their choices. Now they live with them. 3 days later, at a networking event at the Asheville Arts Center, I bumped into Ben, an old classmate who'd become a well-known real estate agent in town. I was just about to tell him about the new photography series I'd started, when his eyes widened. Hey, is your parents' place on Vine Street? I nodded. Someone from my office flagged it. They're trying to offload it fast. House needs a lot of work, high foreclosure risk. I gave a calm smile. I'm fine. I guess they're not. He hesitated like he wanted to say more, but just gave a slow nod. That night, back home, I opened my laptop and saw an email from a nonprofit I'd volunteered with in college, Mountain Aid Legal Services. They were launching a mentorship program for seniors navigating housing debt. I read it twice, then smiled. Life really did come full circle. I started the application, not for my family, for me. To use what I had endured, what I had finally walked away from, to help someone else avoid the same trap. Saturday afternoon, I returned from teaching a photography workshop, expecting nothing more than a quiet evening with a cup of chamomile. Parked outside my apartment, a silver minivan I hadn't seen in years. The same one I had co-signed for when Dad, Howard, couldn't make the payments. I transferred the title to him last year as a final gesture of trust. Now it sat there like a bitter reminder. I got out of my car, walking slowly. My parents stood waiting near the building entrance. Samantha stood a bit behind, clutching her purse, eyes full of barely concealed worry. I said nothing. I stopped a few steps away, arms crossed, waiting. My mother, Denise, spoke first. Her voice was trembling. "Hannah, I'm sorry we had to come here, but things have gotten out of hand. The bank's coming to reassess the property next week." My father continued, his voice lower and wearier than I'd ever heard. "We made a mistake, I know that, but if the house is taken, your mother won't be able to handle it." I looked straight at him, my gaze colder than it had ever been. "Then why, when writing the will, did you decide I wasn't worth including?" He dropped his eyes, fingers fidgeting with the edge of his coat. "Back then, we thought you'd be fine. You've always been strong. But Samantha?" "But Samantha's," I interrupted, "gets to fail, gets forgiven, and inherits everything." I turned to face my sister. She pressed her lips together, said nothing. No denial, no excuse. "I gave away my youth," I said, my voice quiet but every word sharp, "without conditions, and in return I got disregard. And the assumption that Hannah will take care of it. I'm not in that role anymore." My mother's tears fell. "We didn't know it would come to this. Can't you help? Just a little, just for a few months until things stabilize." I shook my head, a breeze in my chest sweeping away years of obligation. "I'm not saying no because I can't help. I'm saying no because if I do, everyone will go right back to believing they never need to change." Samantha finally spoke, her voice small and broken. "I didn't realize it would get so complicated. I thought it just needed time. I didn't think you'd walk away so fast." I looked at her for the first time in weeks. "I didn't walk away fast," I warned. "I waited, I hoped, but our family chose to ignore all of it." "So this is really the end?" my mom whispered, tears still fresh on her cheeks. I looked at her, the woman who once rocked me to sleep, who I'd brought medicine to, taken to the ER, cooked for after my dad retired. And I saw, clearer than ever, the line between blood and actual love. "I didn't end this," I said. "It ended the moment you decided who deserved to be named and who didn't." No one said a word. The late autumn wind whistled through the bare branches overhead, carrying a chill that not even the thickest coat could shield against. I stepped up onto my porch, pulled out my keys, and unlocked the door. Before going inside, I turned around one last time. "I hope you find your way," I said calmly, "but I'm no longer the lifeline for this family." My eyes landed on Rachel. "If you truly want to grow up, this is your moment. I've stepped off the merry-go-round. It's your turn now." And with that, I walked inside and closed the door. The latch clicked softly behind me, sealing off years of obligations I never agreed to carry. Their footsteps faded into the wind. I stood in the quiet of my living room, afternoon light cutting long, golden lines across the floor. No tears, no sadness. Just peace. I thought that final confrontation would be the end, that they would retreat into silence, maybe even reflect, out of pride if not shame. But I had overestimated the self-awareness of people who had never been forced to rely on themselves. A week later, a message came from Olivia, one of the lead coordinators at the Arts Center. "Danielle, are you on Facebook? You should check your mom's page. She's saying things." My fingers hesitated slightly as I typed Gloria Matthews into the search bar. Her timeline was plastered with flower photos, Bible verses, and vague inspirational quotes. But then I saw it. A photo of their house, and a post beneath it. "It's devastating when your own daughter turns her back on you, refuses to help her sick, aging parents in their time of need, after everything we gave her." 87 shares. The comments were a mess of prayers, sympathy, and strangers calling me heartless. Scrolling further, I found a post from my dad Howard. "We thought Danielle loved her family, but when we needed her the most, she walked away. The house is slipping away and she acts like it's none of her concern." And finally, Rachel. A smug caption under a selfie. "Funny how some people are kind only when they're the ones in control, but the moment you ask for real help, silence." That's today's version of strong, I guess. I gripped my phone. Not in rage, not in disbelief, but in exhaustion. When guilt didn't work on me anymore, they switched to public shaming. But they forgot one thing. I no longer needed their version of love. I wasn't silent anymore. That night, I powered up my laptop, logged into my Facebook account, the one I hadn't touched in years, and clicked Create Post. No background colors, no filters, just black text on white, but every word carried weight. Since my family has chosen to share a one-sided version of events, here's the truth from my side. I attached a photo of the will, Rachel's name, and only Rachel's, listed as the sole beneficiary. Then, screenshots of 3 years of mortgage payments, utility bills, and insurance. All under my name. Finally, I posted the last message I received from my mother. Danielle, the mortgage is due. Can you transfer 2,900 cents by Friday? I ended the post with one sentence. My silence wasn't consent. I was just waiting for the right moment to tell the truth. This is that moment. 10 minutes later, the first comment appeared. Danielle, you seriously did all this? I had no idea. Then another. You've always been one of the kindest people I know. Don't let anyone rewrite your story. People started sharing the post. Some had known my parents. Others had watched Rachel's showy lifestyle from a distance. I always thought Rachel lived a little too fast and easy. Now I get why. No one should be treated like that by their own family, especially not someone who sacrificed like you did. My post didn't go viral. It didn't need to. It resonated because it was real. 2 days later, Gloria deleted all her posts. Howard deactivated his profile. Rachel changed her profile picture to a black and white tulip, her signature melodramatic move when life stopped going her way. I didn't reply. I didn't post again. I just sat in my apartment that evening, the rain tapping softly on the windows, and let the stillness settle in. For the first time in years, I felt something close to justice. I didn't need apologies. I didn't need explanations. I just needed it to stop, and finally, it did. They realized something essential, that I wasn't their safety net anymore. One post. That was all it took to end the cycle of silence I had been forced into. Since then, I haven't heard a single word from Mom, Dad, or Rachel. The quiet that followed wasn't filled with expectation. It was filled with finality. Not the silence of being ignored, but the silence of being free. I began to live. Every Monday morning, I walked to the Asheville Arts Center with a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in years. I taught photography to a class of high school students, bright, curious kids, seeing the world through a lens for the first time. The way their eyes lit up when they captured something beautiful. The way they found meaning in shadows, angles, and colors. It reminded me, not everyone sees the same scene the same way, and that's the beauty of it. Sometimes you have to choose your own frame. In the evenings, I took a part-time video editing course downtown, something I'd always wanted to try, but had shelved endlessly because someone always needed me more. Now, no one needed me, and I had never felt more free. I started going on long evening walks, not because I was clearing my head, but simply because I could. I baked lemon scones on Sundays. I posted pictures on Instagram without second-guessing how fake or showy someone might call them. I made new friends, people who knew me for me, not the fixer, not the dependable daughter. Just Danielle. And while I was learning how to breathe again across town, the house on Vine Street started popping up on local real estate listings. Marcus, a realtor friend, sent me a quick text. Hey, just a heads up, your parents' place is listed, asking $390, 0 cents. Okay, but it's in rough shape. Looks like no offers yet. I wasn't surprised. No one to crawl into the attic during winter storms. No one to reset the fuse box at 2 a.m. No one to scrub mildew from the back bathroom tile. No more me. That house had stayed standing because of my hands, my money, my time. Now? It reflected the truth. Unmaintained, cracking under years of ignored problems. Later that week, Lorraine, their longtime neighbor, called to check in. Before we hung up, she added, "Oh, and Rachel's moved back in, I think. She's been running groceries. Doesn't look too thrilled." I glanced up from my laptop and sipped my coffee. In the past, that would have triggered guilt, panic even, but now I simply nodded. Maybe she was finally learning what it meant to be responsible. I wasn't happy they were struggling. I just no longer believed it was my job to fix what wasn't mine. My savings account was growing. I booked a fall trip to Seattle to photograph the changing leaves. I put a deposit down on a semi-pro camera. I had finally started caring for myself the way I used to care for everyone else. And I started writing again, not to defend myself, but to help others find the strength to break free. Some of my blog entries were widely shared. People messaged me, strangers, acquaintances, even old coworkers, thanking me for putting into words the grief, confusion, and quiet strength they'd never dared to speak out loud. It felt like healing in slow motion. One rainy afternoon, I was editing photos in my favorite cafe, an old converted greenhouse tucked off Lexington Avenue, when my phone buzzed. A notification from a real estate site. Price dropped by $30,000, 0 cents on property at 218 Vine Street. Owner seeking urgent sale. I glanced at the photo. The house. Dark, crumbling roof tiles. That same leaning fence I used to patch up every spring. Peeling paint around the windows where sunlight once danced through morning curtains. It had once symbolized duty, pressure, the impossible weight of being everything for everyone. Now it was just a house waiting for someone else to save it. And I wasn't that someone. I tapped hide notification, closed my phone, and smiled. A soft, steady smile, lighter than any sigh I'd carried for years. I didn't belong there anymore. One early winter afternoon, I wandered around Liberty Lake, camera in hand, golden dusk slicing through bare trees. The water shimmered like glass. A little boy darted past me, laughter trailing behind, his mother jogging a few steps after. I lifted my lens and clicked. That frame was perfect. And in it I saw what I needed to understand. Not everything is meant to be held on to. Some things were never really yours to begin with. I used to believe family was forever, that blood meant something sacred. But now I know what makes a family isn't DNA. It's respect, it's gratitude, it's effort. I gave everything trying to be seen, and in return I became a name left off a will, the villain in someone else's story for simply choosing peace. And yet I wasn't angry anymore, just untethered. The house, still on the market, now listed for a third time. Word was, Rachel had started pretending to be the responsible one, greeting buyers with that polished smile. But when they asked for maintenance records, repair logs, she'd freeze. Because no one ever taught her. And I had stopped covering for her. I never went back, not once. Until the day a letter arrived. A pale blue envelope in handwriting I recognized instantly. Gloria. She wrote of sleepless nights, regret, fear, and at the bottom, your father isn't as strong as he used to be. I don't know how much time we have left to fix this, but if you're willing, I'm still here. I folded the letter. I didn't tear it. I didn't reply. Instead, I placed it gently in the drawer beneath my desk, beside the stack of undeveloped film rolls and half-finished essays. Things that needed time, space, distance. Things I couldn't rush to understand, no matter how much they once meant. I didn't hate them. I just no longer had the strength to keep sacrificing without ever being heard. So I kept living. I kept teaching my students, kept capturing moments that whispered the stories I couldn't speak aloud. I held a small exhibit at a friend's cafe, photographs tracing the quiet evolution of healing. Misty mornings in the park, golden light slanting across empty sidewalks, an elderly woman's hands wrapped around a chipped mug, a single daisy fallen against cracked pavement. Afterward, a middle-aged woman approached me, gently shook my hand. I don't know why, she said, but every photo feels like it's speaking for someone who's been silent too long. I smiled. I didn't explain, because she was right. For years I had been silent, for peace, for approval, for the hope that enough selflessness would eventually buy me belonging. But now? I had chosen a new kind of peace, one that didn't ask for permission. I've learned how to love myself without condition, to say no without guilt, to walk away without regret. They're still my family, on paper and in memory, but they're no longer the center of my life. I don't know if there will ever be a reunion, if a future version of us might mend what was broken, but it doesn't matter anymore, because I finally understand. Family isn't just who shares your last name. It's who chooses you, who sees you, who doesn't treat your care as a given. And if no one else can be that for me, then I will. Because my story isn't a tragedy. It's an awakening. I used to believe love meant sacrifice, that family was unshakable. But no one, not even blood, has the right to take you for granted. I set boundaries, I walked away. And now I live with lightness. Not because they change, but because I did. If you've ever had to choose between keeping the peace and protecting your peace, then I hope my story resonated with you. I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below, tell me what part of this story reminded you of your own, or share what boundaries you've learned to set for yourself. We don't heal alone, we heal together. And if this story made you feel seen, please consider subscribing, because every time you support a story like mine, you're helping amplify the voices of those who've been silenced for too long. You deserve peace too.